Okay, welcome to the Thursday, June 9th meeting of the Traffic Safety and Parking Commission. I'm going to call this meeting to order at this time. And let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a flag? Yes, we do. Commissioner Lee, would you join us or lead us in the pledge, please, tonight?
Yes. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move now on to roll call. Ms. Brewer?
Commissioner Lee?
Sure.
Commissioner Rebellos?
Here.
Vice Chair Israelit?
Here. And of course, we're missing this evening Commissioner Eng and Chair Martos. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I think that it makes sense to hold off, even though we have two different meeting minutes to approve, to do that until more of the commissioners are present in case there are errors that they can correct before we make them, formalize them. Mr. Wong, do we need to make a motion to postpone this approval until the next meeting? Or is that something that we can just do?
You know, let's go ahead and just do that since it's actually on the agenda. So
Okay.
It's noted.
You mean a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to postpone the approval of the minutes?
I'll make the motion to postpone the approval of minutes.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. I guess we need to vote officially.
Commissioner Lee?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Rebellos?
Aye.
Vice Chair Israelit?
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Motion passes. Next item is public comments on non-agenda items. I don't think there are any members of the public on this call, Zoom call, and I understand there are not any email comments that we have received. Is that correct, Ms. Brewer?
Correct. I don't have any emails and I don't see any hands raised in the attendees.
This may be the fastest meeting ever in Teaspoon history. We'll move on then to item number 6, which are the discussion and action items. First is the community BPAC update, which is an informational item only. My understanding is that we have a statement from Ms. Beatty since she couldn't be here with us this evening. And I think Mr. Wong will read that, or Ms. Brewer?
I think Ms. Brewer has the email, so.
Okay, Ms. Brewer, would you like to read that for us?
Yes, it says, hello, I am sorry to miss tonight's meeting. It's open house at BIS for my daughter is a 6th grader. And so I'm attending that. Here's the update from BPAC. First, we'd like to request that the city adopt a target speed limit for streets designated as bike boulevards of 20 miles per hour. We think this sets an appropriate and measurable goal that will help us understand whether we've made these streets safer. We asked TSBC to put this item for a future agenda. Secondly, we would love to hear a comprehensive update on the improvements that have been made for the kids biking and walking to and from BIS. It's been a year since the walk audits that called out safety improvements, and it would be great to check in on this project. Thank you, Leslie.
Okay, thank you very much. I've noted the request to talk about a reduced speed limit on bike boulevards. The second item is something that is actively being worked on. It's just that perhaps people aren't aware that we've been working on that. And that's not quite ready for presentation to the public. Okay, so then let's move on to item 6B, the big show of the evening, Broadway grade separation, bike and pedestrian improvements. Mr. Wong, I think you're muted.
Always happens once a meeting. Thank you, Vice Chair. For tonight, it's the Broadway grade separation. We'll give you a little background, I believe the presentation will have, but then more importantly, we're going to see some of the improvements that are under design by our the Caltrain design team, being led by Mark Thomas. But for the Broadway subcommittee, the comments you forwarded earlier were great. Those we've managed to forward to them, and you'll see a lot of them in here. For tonight's meeting, again, you're going to see aerial with some graphics put in. These aren't design plans. We're not at that level yet. We're not going to be able to tell you how tall something is or how wide something is quite yet. But we're looking at feedback, especially for some of the things, the changes that you're going to see tonight. So that is very important. And as we go through this, just a reminder, the process, once the presentation's done, and hopefully we can go ahead and let the design team, when they do the presentation, just go from start and finish. And then if you could hold your questions till then, it'd be much appreciated. And then what we'll do is we'll have the questions from the commission, take any public questions and comments, and then we'll wrap back up with the commissioners, any comments that you have to finish off this item. With that, I turn this over to Mr. Rob Himes of Mark Thomas, who's leading the effort. And he's got a great presentation for you folks.
Thank you, appreciate it. It does say that my share screen has been disabled. I don't know if is there some way that we could toggle that on?
Yes, we will.
Or I'm going to be doing hand puppets, and I don't think people to try to explain what's going on.
I apologize. I just switched it, so you should be able to share now.
Okay.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah, let me, all right. So hopefully what you see is the PowerPoint with Caltrain in the lower left. Yes?
We do.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. We can.
perfect. Okay, yeah, thank you, Andy. I'm very excited. I've been working on this job for about a year, and it's an exciting project. We have taken over since the 35% plans, and now we're taking it to final construction documents and construction support. And we've incorporated a lot of things that hadn't been incorporated before because they weren't there yet, like the bicycle ped master plan or the California Drive bike facilities project. That's now all incorporated here. So I think you are going to see quite a few things that are different than what was before. A little bit of an overview, and then I'll go into an agenda. The overview is that we had a city council update on February 8th that we talked about design changes that we had come up with, that Caltrain had approved, and now it was really to get the council to approve these changes, and they had back then. And so now we've been going pretty much full speed ahead, but a lot of the things are ironing out some wrinkles and things like how we're going to handle bikes, peds, bus stops, etc. Part of the change is that with a couple of the changes, we're no longer lowering the roadways. And so the previous design had Broadway lowered 6 feet. And then of course, California and Carolyn both had to be lowered 6 feet to make that conform, which made handling bikes, peds, staircases, etc. very tricky. But now that's been resolved. So now it's all pretty much at current grade level. Like I said, we're at 35% design level right now. So there's still time to incorporate comments that we received. We have, like Andy said, we did receive some previous comments and we've incorporated those. Our goal is to submit 65% design plans in November of this year. So give you a time frame of where we'd like things to come in and how we want to get those resolved and put into the plans. The project does now incorporate the December 2020 bike master plan. It also incorporates California Drive bike facilities project. So the agenda is, I want to start off with, what do we have out there now? What's been approved? What's been incorporated? And then what modifications we made to continue, to accommodate all these things. So this is the current bike facilities that we have out there now. So we have along essentially California down in the lower end, we have the green dash, which represents buffered bike lanes, which are protected striped bike lanes or normal bike lanes. North of Broadway, there's a combination of Sharrows, class 3s. South of Broadway on California, you see the purple line that represents, and the green lines, both south of Broadway. That represents the new California Bike Facilities Project, which is going to incorporate in purple a two-way directional bike lane that's separated by parking. So it's parking protected bikeway. And then when it gets to Carmelita, primarily because we're doing this project, it's been split to two class ones shown in green, which will connect to the north. On the other side, Carolyn project has been done for several years, and it's a buffered bike lane project. So it's got the, the white stripes with some separation to a standard like class 2 bike lane. And then Cadillac is a bike boulevard, which ultimately ties you to the class 1 structure up and over 101. So that's what we have now. In the future, there's also two class 2 bike lanes, 2 on Broadway and 2 on Rollins that'll come in as in a future project, not part of this project. And then a ultimate goal is to have a 2-way bike path that runs all the way from the Burlingame station to the Millbrae station on the rail side. And that's been identified in the bicycle master plan, and that's what's being built essentially for everything south of Broadway to Oak Grove is like I said, a 2-way path. Also identified in the bicycle master plan is a new connection, a new class 1, which is a 2-way path that connects from California to Carolyn and then down Carolyn over to Cadillac. And you'll see why that's an important connection, especially if you come up over the structure, you go on to Cadillac. Now, how do we get into these nice facilities that we're building? Our limits shown here in black dash. So these are the areas that as we're starting to incorporate these things, anything shown in the black dash is what we want to incorporate moving forward with our project. So I want to first talk about what we're building outside of the bikes and peds. And so what you see here in the light blue down the center is an embankment that's up on retaining walls. And the access through this embankment are shown in the darker blue. And so on the left, you have Broadway. That's, the big main street, has 30,000 cars a day through there. That's an overcrossing there. We have one across from Cadillac, which is in the middle, straight across. And then we have another one that I know I just put Ave there, but that's Carmelita. And that'll go straight across into that connection. We also are building a park and ride lot, which goes between the embankment where the tracks are and Carolyn Avenue. And they're building a 875-foot long station platform that runs across the top. And that'll be accessed by stairs, 3 sets of stairs that'll take you up from these access points up onto the platform. And then on the outsides, at the ends of the platform, there'll be 2 ramps. And so there will not be escalators, there will not be elevators at this station. They'll be accessed, ADA accessible via these ramps. Outside the station, we have several things going on, bus stops. So you can see on California, we're relocating some of the bus stops that were closer to Broadway over next to the Carmelita entrance. And then on Carolyn, we're putting in a bus stop there across the street on the east side of Carolyn. And then on the west side within the park and ride lot, we're going to provide space for 2 40-foot buses that can drop off passengers and pick up passengers there, circle around, go up Carolyn to Broadway and out. We're also in the purple on the lower right, putting in a kiss and ride drop off right from California. So you can drop somebody off and that'll accommodate 3 or 4 cars, drop somebody off, or a quick Uber pickup if you're heading that direction to jump in that and then go. We're also putting in bike lockers and racks right there at the Cadillac entrance, which is convenient because that's where you have the path that goes all the way to the class 1. And it's a nice central location within the platform to drop your bike off or pick up your bike and then head out. And then of course, all the things that we're doing for the bike ped path that we have running through and around the station. And the idea is to make it really easy, kind of stress-free to be able to ride your bike and either go to the station or across the station, continue north or continue south along here. So this is the overall improvements. It's zoomed way in. I'm going to zoom in on different areas to explain what's happening. And so on the south end, our conform to the California Bike Facilities Project shown here in the upper right in green, That's what's being built soon. That's what's being designed now. It's past the 65% design level. I know it's been in front of this group, this commission before. So what we want to do is pick it up from there, right past, it's about at the end of this green arrow on the backside is Sanchez Creek. There's a box culvert. You can see the creek out there going underneath the railroad tracks. That's about where the current path that's being built would be terminated. And we're taking and we're building the new red section, which is going to go up onto essentially a sidewalk level up and through and parallel to the station. In the cross section you see down here in the green, that's what the bicycle facilities project is building. It's reducing the lanes to 1 lane each direction with a center left turn. On the right-hand side near the Caltrain right away, it has a class 4 bikeway, 1 lane each direction with bicyclists separated by a buffer, separated by parking is what's being built. So, and it looks like this. I pulled a photo off of Google, but generally we're holding the existing curb on that project, striping it in, buffering it, and putting parking. So moving down a little further, now we're at the intersection. Again, it's 30,000 cars a day. So it gets a lot of traffic through this intersection, but I'm sure you know that, California and Broadway. And so if I'm looking at the red path that's running along the station, what you're going to see in cross section is we tried to maximize the landscaping and reduce the amount of crossing distance. And so by doing that, we've put the path, it's a multi-use path, which is what's designated in the master plan, at least north of Broadway. And we put in landscaping on both sides is the plan for the bicycle and the pedestrians, a 12-foot wide path. And then we've reduced the lanes where we can to, again, shorten those paths and shorten the crossing. This is what it looks like as a detail. Things that we're, as an engineer and landscape architects, is the things that we're looking for is making sure branches are high enough, that trees have enough offset from the path so you're not hitting your handlebars, etc. So this is the actual detail of what we're doing, which is a 12-foot wide multi-use path. And here's some examples again off of Google that just shows how you would share bikes, pedestrians on the same path in this location. So as we move to the intersection itself, I want to point out the double right turns in northbound California. So going from your right of your screen to your left, 2 right turns that go onto Broadway and head towards the freeway. Originally, in the 35% plans 2 years ago, the plan was to put in a free right and put 2 throughs, which required a pork chop island. And the big reason for this is because, again, we were lowering the roadway 6 feet. And so to meet ADA accessibility, and we were only able to do 1 crossing, which is on the east side, right at the pork chop island over. The other ones really didn't meet ADA at the time. But by going to existing grade, now we have more options. And the city staff had asked me several times can we reevaluate this, because free right turns are typically, they're free right turns, and a lot of bikes and peds don't necessarily go together, especially with the size that we had to come up with for the island. And so what we did is we had Farron Pierce, who's on the line, evaluate the traffic again, and they came up with an alternative that actually has 2 protected rights, which are controlled with be a red, essentially a red stop line, which would allow its own dedicated cycle to go through on the bikes and peds to continue them north and south. And so, and we've done this many times. There's LED boxes that you can put in there with no right turns as this signal is going. And so that's how we're going to get bikes and peds across Broadway, from continuing 1 path on the south to 1 path on the north. The other thing I want to point out is now going up the page and off the page is another red class 1 path that goes underneath the structure. And so please don't pay attention to the rendering or the look of these things. What I'm really trying to do is show space, what it looks like. So the old structure was a 2-span structure. And one of the comments we've heard is, is there a way to get a class 1 bike path through here, whether it's a tunnel or whatever? And so what we found is by not lowering the roadway, we can reduce the structure width by actually adding 2 more spans, which then doubles as a benefit for providing access for bikes, peds, pedestrians, and more space on the entrance to the station. And so now the structure has 4 spans instead of the 2 spans over the roadway itself, which makes it a lot more inviting, and it makes this bike path possible, which is again identified in the bike ped master plan. The last thing I wanted to talk about is our project goes all the way over to the far left. And so we want to take this opportunity to realize some more of the future multi-use path that runs along the east side and get it as far as we can. And so we've selected Lincoln Avenue, which seemed like a good location to actually make the crossing. And so if you're heading northbound from right to left on the page, you can continue as a bicyclist onto an on-ramp, kind of essentially an on-ramp that takes you right into the existing class 2. If you're heading southbound, you can do a 2-step left, go across the crosswalk, enter into the path, and then that'll continue you straight to the south towards the station entrances. And what I like about this is, you have a nice facility out there now, but now the bicyclists don't have to mingle with the heavy intersection at Broadway and California. And then the last area I want to talk about is on Carolyn Avenue and how we handled this. So the bike ped master plan talks about not only just doing the class 1 underneath the tracks, but also on to Carolyn over to Cadillac. So that was the entire project. And we originally looked at something shorter than this and trying to tie it into the Broadway Carolyn intersection. But after figuring out how bikes and peds would operate through this thing coming from the bike boulevard, it made so much sense to put this in. So in cross section, what you're looking at is we want to use the existing curbs that are out there and put similar to how we have it on California with the class 4, do the same thing, have a class 4 that goes from Cadillac up, you see it kind of in a green, and then bring it up to sidewalk level to take it underneath the structure. And that's how you would connect to Cadillac Way over to California and up and down California. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. What I did is I have open discussion here, and then I put the agenda and everything I started off with on the right-hand side and help you trigger some comments if you have some. That's it for me.
Well, thank you very much. That was concise and clear, and it was really, I loved having the, aerial view as well as the street level view. So thank you very much. I think what we'll do now is I'll go through the commissioners, and you guys, this is the question section. So please reserve your comments for the next part. But if you have any questions for the consultant, Mr. Himes, this would be a good time. So I'm going to let Commissioner Rebelos go first.
I don't have any questions right now. Thanks.
That's how good the presentation was. Commissioner
He's
Lee.
just like, he doesn't know where to start.
It could be one or the other, exactly. Commissioner Lee, do you have questions?
I'd like to see the slide that shows the area that the entire project encompasses, please.
Sure. I'm gonna have to back through some of this. I think it was at the right before I got into all this. So there's this that shows the air photo, and then I have another one that shows the improvements and those total limits. So whatever one you want.
Let's leave this one for now.
Okay.
So we're within the black dotted lines.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the black dotted lines. So we're not showing a bike lane on Broadway Avenue connecting with the Broadway overpass over 101. Is that correct? You're not putting them there?
So this is what we do. We have a shoulder that could easily be designated for a bike lane. It has the same width and everything. But in the bike ped master plan, it doesn't identify it as any class. I think the idea was to take it up Cadillac and over and get traffic off of Broadway, I believe.
Okay.
So,
That it'd be nice to incorporate. I see bicyclists there to
Yeah.
go over to the bike ped overpass over 101.
Yes.
It's, if you look at the purple snake there,
Yeah.
it's really long.
Yeah.
It pretty much doubles your trip. So I do see bicyclists going straight ahead across Broadway. Be nice to incorporate a bike lane there.
Okay.
Even though we have the other thing, bikers still use that. The other, what I'd like to be able to see is, do you see the very furthest east? Well, it's at the top of our screen, the top black hash.
Uh,
Going to improve that crossing for pedestrians right there across Broadway and Rollins.
um, sorry.
Where Rollins crosses Broadway,
Yep.
where the black dashed line is.
Yeah.
Horizontal, there, we need to improve that. That's about 90 feet of crossing for pedestrian without a refuge island. Are we going to be able to do something with this plan? It'd be nice to, people, it's like run for your life and no one does, it's scary. It's like 90 feet, could be 100 feet for
Mhm.
pedestrians to try to cross 30,000 cars a day. So anyway, I'd like to see that incorporated in the plan. And then I have other things. I believe it shows class 2 bike lanes on Rollins. Is that to the south, to the north? And then also to the south of Broadway? What are those green dashed lines?
So the south is already built. The dash lines are already built. So there is a class 2 bike lane there.
Okay,
It's the solid one to the north of Broadway on Rollins. It does not exist now, but it's included in the bike ped master plan.
okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Then along the parkways, we have numerous places where we're improving the side of the road. Are we going to have everywhere trees along the curbs and have a 4-foot, like where won't we and where will we have trees?
Yeah.
We need the trees separating the roadway from the humans.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get to another graphic really quick.
Yeah,
Okay, here we go. So this,
Yeah,
we
we're-
are having, I hope you can see this. There's a parkway all the way through here. So everything is on California to the east and south of Broadway is all separated with new parkway strip and landscaping. Everything north
Yeah.
of Broadway, same thing. This one, I think we're proposing about a 7-foot parkway strip through here because we have a little more availability.
okay,
And then here along the, well, it's not there now, but the park and ride lot, we plan on putting, these are all tree wells through here, all the little tiny dots.
great.
And then, however, there was nothing in the previous plan, and there's nothing currently planned for Broadway from Carolyn to Rollins.
Are we able to put some trees in to separate the sidewalk area from the roadway?
Yeah, I mean, I have to talk to Andy because there's some utilities, also there's a Porsche and Audi dealership. I mean, if we have direction, I could certainly, obviously it may take a little more right away, but that's
Okay.
something, and if there's money within the budget.
Okay, and then I just have a list of like 8 things, so sorry about that. So at the southeast corner of the train station where Carol Ann and Broadway meet, to your left, stop down a little, there.
Okay,
Can we get some trees there for the pedestrians instead of all concrete? Get some trees in there, plants, bushes. For the
yeah, yeah, we can. I don't have. We can put additional bushes and trees in here.
Yeah, because when I looked at your drawing, I know you said don't look at it, but all I saw was a vast wasteland of concrete.
Yeah,
Talking about that same landing zone of the crosswalk there, where yes, that one, where you land.
Yeah.
Can that be an east-west only, not a diagonal handicap ramp going strictly east-west? And make that crosswalk perpendicular, not this diagonal thing like that.
Yeah, I
push it
can,
back and get it over, away from Broadway Avenue, because you're scared to walk near Broadway Avenue?
yeah, I could, that change could certainly happen.
Okay, and then what I see on all of these crossings, and of course, particularly that double right turn, which is not my favorite. All of these, can we stagger the first lane further back?
Yeah, let me,
So that the stop lines are staggered, so pedestrians can see the vehicles and the vehicles can see the pedestrians? Yeah, stagger it. So the
Mhm.
first one goes back so that the second one, everyone can see everyone stopped. And makes pedestrians much more visible?
yeah.
Yeah,
Are you-
stagger those, stagger all of them, every single one, all the way, the whole area. Is my suggestion.
I just, real quick, I
Yeah.
want to make sure I understand which way you're staggering. Are you staggering towards the crosswalk or back away? Because
Back
it's
away.
okay, back away.
That way, so the first one, meaning actually, which is lane number, I don't know how many we're at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, lane number 3, which is that one, yes. That one should
Okay.
be further back so that the pedestrian crossing can see this truck or car where the second right turn arrow is, yeah.
Yeah,
You want to be
yeah.
able to see. And again, this crosswalk, why do we have a diagonal? Can't we go perpendicular to the curb? Let's make it perpendicular.
Well, yeah, I mean, we get this comment a lot. The
Yeah,
problem is when cars make a right and a pedestrian is far away from the end return, it's not the best situation. We want to bring the pedestrians closer to the line of sight. And so that's why we skew them. Because if I was to go straight, the curb ramp would be over here, somebody would come around and then see the pedestrian.
okay,
So yeah, again, we've come up on this many times before. And
yeah,
it's just better to put the ADA curb ramps at the end return where you could be seen.
yeah. So going to your, where are you? Where's your cursor? To your
Right here.
left, our
Okay.
left, there. See the handicap ramp there just to the right? That one again is a diagonal thing. Can we make it perpendicular and get that crosswalk perpendicular, please?
Yeah, we can do that. There's no
And
reason
then-
why we couldn't.
And again, stagger those lines so that the pedestrian can see the vehicle in the second lane and the second lane driver can see the pedestrian on the curb. Okay, so crossing the street directly across yes, right there. Do you see that center refuge island that doesn't exist there? Can we extend that brown piece and
Yeah.
give the pedestrian a center refuge island? Because pedestrians don't like to cross more than 60 feet. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 12. We're what, 96 feet they have to cross there? So can we do a center refuge island just to make them feel happier?
I actually asked our engineers to look at this. We'll meet with the city again because we've been assigned design vehicles, and with the current design vehicles, we were not able to make this work. It would just end up being a very small piece of concrete.
That's
But
okay.
yeah,
With
so
just a curb in front of it even. But
Yeah.
something, like make it a curved curb in front of it. But
Yeah.
people feel much happier. They just do.
Yeah.
Let's see, staggered stop line, not a diagonal. Oh, the lights under the underpass. And of course, all of the lighting
Yeah.
needs to be focusing heavily on the crosswalks, not just illuminating the roadway, but where the people actually cross the street or the bikes cross. Can we place emphasis there so that the light is brightest there at a low level? Not way up high, not freeway lights, but down low?
Yeah.
Could we get some down low lights around the pedestrian areas? And then under the underpass also, could there be lights underneath the underpass on both sides?
Yeah,
for
there will be lights under there.
But I mean, not just on the roadway, but for the pedestrians to have them and the bikers?
Yeah, we have, remember there's a fourth span, there's a first span and a fourth span that weren't there before. Those will be well lit because now they're, I don't want to say plazas, but they're, it's an opening that allows you to go up and down the stairs and in and out of the station.
Okay.
So.
And my last question was, how do you cross Lincoln with the bike? I think that's to our north. How do we cross Lincoln Street? How do the bikers and people who want to cross it? Is that a controlled intersection now?
We're going to evaluate. I don't know at this point.
Right there.
Yeah, but we're going to evaluate what control would be necessary through here.
Yeah, because we're trying to hopefully get that roadway down to 30 miles an hour, which means people probably go about 38, which then they don't stop for you. So we need a control crossing there. And that's all I had right now. Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry
Yeah,
for
good.
dominating. I had all these notes.
No, good comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the vice chair,
Yes.
just wanted to throw a quick comment. We're talking about the pedestrian refuge. As Mr. Himes pointed out, we did the design vehicle we're using is one of our fire engines, and in my experience, having a small island, you need to have the island of significant size. It needs to be a certain width, otherwise vehicles they won't see it and they'll hit it. I've had that experience, so that's just something to keep in mind, that if you make it small, the smaller it is, people aren't going to see it, especially at night. We call it target value. It'll get hit. And you've seen some of these curbs when you go around. Well, I look at curbs, but you'll see the tire marks rubbed up against it. And that happens a lot, even in San Francisco, where they've got a lot of these island refuge islands. Not saying you don't have them, but obviously the wider you have them, the larger, the better. But in this case, because of our design vehicle, which is an emergency vehicle, it's a trade-off. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, so I believe the minimum is 6 foot. Am I right, Andy, on that? The minimum width is 6 foot for pedestrian refuge. I believe I'm right. So, if someone hits their tire, boo-hoo. But if it makes people happier crossing and safer, then that's better.
Agreed. If you can achieve, I think we can go down to 4 feet, but what we have there, if you're talking about a tip, it's going to be much smaller than that. I think that's where Mr. Himes is going. We've got the end towards, you can go back to that slide. If you can go right there to the east of the crosswalk, you've got a wider one, but you're talking about putting one on the other side of the crosswalk, which makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah.
And again, that's where you can't put anything large enough. Otherwise, an emergency vehicle, a fire engine, will not be able to negotiate that, and it's a trade-off. That's all I'm putting out there. That's just for everyone's kind of consideration or education on that, and how we get to certain things.
Okay, thank you for explaining that, Mr. Wong. Yeah, I do know what you mean. I have seen those smaller, I've almost hit some of those smaller islands, and my concern would be a car that would hit that, then gets careened off into a pedestrian that might be in the crosswalk but okay, I have a couple of questions, not very many, but I wasn't aware of the change that Broadway would be going below grade and coming up. I wasn't aware. I don't know if other Teaspoon committee members were aware that it had been decided to stay at grade. So I just have some questions regarding that. Does that mean that the elevated portion of the trains will be higher? How does that affect the whole thing? Is everything just shifting up?
No, we're actually using a different type of structure approved by Caltrain. That's a thinner structure. It's called through girder. So the trains are actually sitting between the girders instead of on top of the girder. But there was and we explained it to the council, there is a 2-foot increase in rail, but only at the station platform. And then it actually goes down actually a little bit lower on some of the conforms. And so that's how we made it work. But the problem, and I explained it, is with the lowering of Broadway, even a slight lowering, there's a significant roadway closure. And so then we looked at modeling. Fair and Piers actually did the model of what would you do with the 30,000 cars that would normally cross here, or some fraction of that. And then how do you get them back around? And there we found that there was pretty significant delays in getting to and from the west side of California to the freeway and vice versa. And so to give you an idea, the original plan was probably a 12-month, like a 1-year closure of Broadway. And so that's why we took this as an important piece to try to mitigate.
To keep Burlingame sane.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. It's a 1 year just for the track work and the structure and the lowering. But then there's another year in front of that where you're relocating all the utilities and lowering all the utilities throughout these streets, which, is not easy either. You're closing lanes, you're doing things at night. So all that pretty much went away.
That's
Relative.
amazing. Okay, thanks for explaining that, because
Sure.
I just wasn't aware that change had been a possibility. This is kind of a small question, but what is going to happen with the old train station that's currently there? I believe it houses Maverick Jacks now. Is that of historic value, and what's going to happen with that?
Yeah, they will have to be removed, the Chevron gas station, and they're aware of it. They've been talking to Caltrain right away folks, but that would have to be removed. And then the gas station, the Chevron gas station and car wash would be removed for the park and ride lot. But again, going from a lowering, we had something like 20 plus parcels with acquisitions of gas stations, and now we went to I think 7 sliver widenings for temporary construction. I mean, we've really reduced it. So.
Okay, thanks. I was just kind of
Mhm.
curious if that was going to be removed. And then lastly, I like the kiss and ride little pullout. That was one of the things I think we worked on as a Broadway subcommittee.
Yeah.
But my only question is, I am just a little bit concerned, even though I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like three or four cars. How do you keep cars from just parking there and waiting for extensive periods of time? Because I know at Bard and Millbrae, there's double, really, maybe 10 cars at any given time that are waiting to pick up and drop off. And I'm just a little concerned that it might not end up being very functional if people just kind of hang out there and aren't just moving along. And could you just comment on how those spaces are used and what problems we might have with that?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, everybody would swing around to the park and ride lot where there's plenty of spaces to wait for somebody to come off the train. And so I would hope, and I hate using hope in engineering situations, but if you're the fourth car in line and these cars aren't moving, that you would go, okay, I'm going to go up to the light, make a right, and I'm going to go into the parking lot and wait, and not wait there
Hanging
just
out
because it's this side.
Yeah.
And they are shielded by, it's hard to explain, but right where the 2 blue arrows are on the right.
Yeah.
Just between the green and that blue arrow is parking. That is parking. That's
Okay.
buffering the bike lane. So you could imagine the right turn pocket coming out. They are shielded behind that parking could extend and people could still make their right and still go to Broadway. So it wouldn't be a terrible situation. It's just hopefully people would understand to move around, just go 1 block down and around and go into the park and ride lot.
Okay. Just curious, do they ever make it a drop-off only lot as opposed to pickup as well? I mean, because drop-off obviously would be quicker. Is that ever done?
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, that could consideration. Sure.
Okay. Just because of the tight nature of where
Timing.
it's located and all.
Yeah.
Okay. Those were my only questions. Let's move to any public comments. I believe we don't have members of the public with us on the Zoom this evening.
Through the vice chair, I do have one hand up.
Oh, I see. Yeah, sorry about that. I missed that. It's in a different column. Yes. And who is, it's Drew, I don't see your last name, but would you please just let us know who you are and go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Okay.
Hi, I'm Drew. I've been following this project for many years. I'm Mid-Peninsula resident. So I think it's been vastly improved at just in the last year or two with some of these additions. It's just impressive. It's just been impressive. It's been nice to see. So congrats on that. I'll just try to blast through since I only have probably 2 minutes left now. And so I wonder on the Cadillac undercrossing, maybe a little wider, and just also in the undercrossings, I do see it on the slide that's shown right now. I was going to say the little wings, the little 45-degree things, to get the corners like
Mhm.
45 degreed. I realize structurally that adds some work because the span at that edge is bigger, but like the Cadillac undercrossing doesn't have that. So when I look at Hillsdale, there's been stuff with bikes coming, just different things people can't see at a 90 degree. So any kind of 90-degree angle, trying to add 45s or doing something. So you don't walk out and instantly hit a bike. You don't walk out and instantly hit a cross pedestrian and stuff. And then at the Cadillac, is it Cadillac undercrossing, which I'm so glad you added, like another way up and down. I was just wondering why the stairs are only on one side, though. In this rendition, it looks like maybe there's restrooms. I've just always wondered why it's not like stairs up and down both sides, but I'm so excited and happy that there's even an undercrossing and stairs up, so it's just, and let's see, the kiss and ride, I tend to think you need something, or there should be something on southbound California Avenue, because there'll be people coming down and they're just going to want to drop off people. And if you don't provide it, they're going to pull, like Uber drivers. They're just going to stop. I've been stopped by so many Uber, Lyft people just randomly. Oh, I'm going to pick up someone, like on the southbound kind of direction. I have no idea if there's any availability of right of way somewhere in this zone, but that's the flip side of that, because they'll just do it. It doesn't matter if it just doesn't matter. And I know there's a lot of other little things, but the other last big thing you didn't talk about, it's just at the undercrossing farther down the south. Just, you may not have any slides about that and stuff. But this is there's so many positives compared to like 30% a year and a half ago. So
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
I could say more, but thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. I think there's also another attendee who her hand raised, or his or her just listed as MV. So if you could just introduce yourself, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Ms. Brewer, it looks like you're letting Alex Lee talk rather than MV. So is somebody, okay, there we go. MV, if you could go ahead and.
Hi, this is Manito Velasco. I also wanted to applaud and celebrate the improvements in the design. It is definitely a market improvement over the first couple of concepts. I had suggested lining up the entrance at Carmelita. I'm glad to see that happened and make it more rational for people to be able to cross. I'm also very happy to see the another undercrossing at Cadillac. Makes it also rational to cross from the other side and connect those two grids. There's a lot of improvement here. I like that the little pork chop island where all the bike routes and all the pedestrians were going to meet has been eliminated. But like the other caller, I was also interested to hear about the undercrossing at what is Morel now, but I'm hoping is the new Toyon Mahia crossing, like to connect those two neighborhoods and stitch them together. I hope that's really still under consideration, and that on both sides of that, on the Carolyn side and on the California side, to have some sort of a flashing beacon or some sort of a signal to get people, the neighborhood people from one side of the intersection to the other, because it's pretty daunting to try to cross Carolyn or California without any sort of protection. I was also going to ask about the link. I think I saw what looks like a Lincoln crossing at the other end. So I'm also interested to hear how bikes and peds are going to cross there. Is that going to be a stop sign or a signal or some sort of beacon? And then lastly, like I hope that this sketch or sketches or slides are made available to the public, because there's a lot here to digest. I can see a lot of opportunities to improve things, not just for ped bikes, but just traffic in general. Like those of us who live within 2 or 3 blocks of this, there's a lot of potential here for even more traffic improvements. And it's good to like look at a drawing that's in 2D like this, but I know there's grades involved, like there's lowering of streets, and when you have lowering of streets, that means visibility is affected because it's not a straight shot anymore. So I hope this is made available for more eyes to be on it and to give more time for people to actually comment from the various different modes that they take. So thank you very much for doing this. I'm very happy that that you guys are doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Velasco.
Through the vice chair?
Yes.
Yes, we will, now that we have the presentation, we will make it available. We'll try to get it up on the website. If not, we can try to disseminate if those attendees just notify us, send the email to dpw@burlingame.org. We'll make sure they get a copy of this. And we'll try to get up on the website. And I'll let Mr. Himes talk about the crossing or undercrossing at Morel. I think folks will be pleased about that as well.
Yeah, the reason why I said, oh, as soon as I heard it, because I was going to put it in the presentation, I forgot. I apologize. So yeah, we are going to move the crossing, and that's still the plan. And we're moving towards 65% design, but it's an undercrossing, and it does now go across Mejia to Hone, I believe it is. I'm going by memory. But at the intersections, instead of a mid-block crossing at both locations on Carolyn and California. So I think that's a huge improvement. What I like about it is it pushes the crossing slightly to the north, which if you can visualize this, the railroad tracks are going up. And so it gives us more vertical clearance. The old crossing had to be depressed. And so there was ramps down and steps down to the old crossing. Now we can accommodate it at grade between Carolyn and California. So now you can just essentially take your bicycle through. We're coordinating with Caltrain and Samtrans on bus stop locations because the current stops are at the old Morel crossing, which we'd like to relocate and make them part of the new crossing so people can take the bus, hop off, and then go underneath the tracks or vice versa. So that's what we're working on now. Yeah, I apologize I didn't put it in there, but that's definitely moving forward. And that was a big thumbs up from both Caltrain and the city when we proposed that. So.
All right. Thank you very much for answering that question. Ms. Brewer, are there any other members of the public with their hands raised or waiting to speak?
Through the vice chair, there are none. We do have, I guess we're ready to go back to commissioners, and we do have a hand raised there.
Yep, we'll go through everybody. So let's see, we'll let Commissioner Lay, since your hand is up, we'll let you go first.
Thank you very much. Just in looking at this, a couple of quick suggestions, I guess. The ramps at the south and north end, see how they go down to the end and they turn and then they come back up? Both of them, they're horseshoe shaped. So at the top of the U of the horseshoe, it looks like, if you move your cursor diagonally to the right and go right.
Hang on just a second. Let me, because I'm seeing all you folks. And then you're talking over here?
The pedestrian ramp to go up or down from station level down to street level.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there, right there to the end where you make the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like a very small zone, and you're going to have your bike, and the other guy coming down the ramp is going to have his bike. It seems like you need at least 10 feet of passing zone over there. It looks very minimal right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a bottleneck, especially with bikes going there.
It's funny because these are 10-foot wide, so they're 10-foot wide paths. It's just that it's so small at this scale.
Okay, I mean 10's the minimum. If we could go bigger, that'd be great.
Unfortunately, we can't because there's clearances from the rails. But this.
Okay.
Okay.
And then my other suggestion, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, I've seen it in Europe. So where you have the stairs that go up and down, not all bikers want to use the ramp, right? A lot of them have these lightweight 6-pound bikes and they pick them up.
Yeah.
But what you can do is underneath the railing, like at the step level down on the ground, you put like a 3-inch wide flat ramp, and the bikers put their wheels on that ramp underneath the railing, and they just roll it up. And it'd be just a suggestion to make it easier for bikers to go up and down that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
no, we've actually designed a couple here. So yeah,
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We could take a look. The only thing is I mean, I have to look at the width. Ours was actually a little wider than 3 inches. So, I
Okay,
mean, I'll take a look though.
okay, yeah. I mean, since this is the 100-year plan, you know,
Yeah.
we might as well build it right. And then I assume later we're gonna see structures for wind and rain up top, like lots of structures. And Burlingame's really windy, so wind becomes a huge factor. I mean, not just little bus stops up there, but actual structures for wind and rain. I'd like to see those if that ever happens and then lots of benches
Mhm.
and then wind and rain structures, or the wind is huge though, too. It can't just be
Yeah.
a corrugated roof. It needs to have a wind shield too. All right, and that was it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. It's a good plan, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Commissioner Revelos, you have your hand up and I was going to call on you anyway. Go ahead.
Thanks. I was just trying to make sure I was following protocol. Anyway, so yes, I do. I really like the plan overall. I'm really happy that it's going to be the grade on Broadway. It's going to stay level. I'm impressed by the overpass design. I love the tunnels. I love the openness of to suggestions. And my comment is really just there's been so many good comments already. So I'm just going to focus on Lincoln and California and just, I travel through that intersection a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to require a unique discussion.
Yeah.
It should be an item of its own. It should have its own life, so to speak. So I just want to say that I don't want to comment on what I think should be there, but I would like to just say that I hope it comes back to committee for some advisory or council, commission. At which meeting am I at? I do a lot of meetings.
You could just say us. Back to us.
So that it comes back to the commission for some advisory. But I'm looking forward to talking about that. But I love this. The what are you calling it? A parkway?
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about it. I think it's really great.
Yeah. Excellent.
Thank you so much. I guess, I don't really have a whole lot to add, honestly. I feel like you have done a great job with making this not like an imposing structure like we initially were afraid of with an elevated train station. I feel like you're paying a lot of attention to the greenery and shrubs, and there's a lot of park space. Really, I think you've done a superb job. I don't have anything that I could add or would like to see changed.
Thank
Great,
you.
thanks. And it's rare that a new project or presentation gets such acceptance from both members of the public and commissioners. So well done. So, all right.
Through the
Mr.
vice chair?
Long, yes, go for
Yes,
it.
before you move on, and
Yep.
Case, just want,
Oh, you're
Oh.
muted.
I
Sorry.
did the wrong thing, sorry.
No problem.
I was trying to put down my hand. Just want to let folks know that thank you again for Mr. Himes, great presentation, and you can get more of it not for this commission, but for the public community at large. We will be going through a presentation of the aesthetics at some point coming up. So I will let you make you aware of that when we actually set the date. We haven't set a date, but please look for it. I think we discussed it's still going to be a Zoom type format, and you'll get to see the different aesthetic options that we've gotten a little look at, but you guys will have some in more detail and be able to weigh in on that, because that's the next stage. But first, that's going to go to the council subcommittee, and then it'll go out to the general public. So please look forward to that. And I imagine Mr. Himes will be leading that one too. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Great. That was painless. Okay, let's move on to item number 7, information items, and we'll start with the engineering division reports with Mr. Wong.
I'm sorry, just get it in place. All right, thank you, Vice Chair. Just a couple, the El Camino Real water line main improvements. Again, all the heavy work along El Camino is done. Now they're just tying in the services. And so we look for that project to be done sometime next month. So for all the traffic, you folks, thank you for your patience, but that's hopefully coming to an end. Our current street resurfacing project, we've already had a kickoff with the contractor, so that will be going out. They're starting to, obviously, once school lets out, I believe those are the first locations that they're going to try to attempt to take care of that. And we've gotten, once we, I guess we've got some of the preliminary stuff for the bike boulevards. We'll incorporate that into it because there are a couple bike boulevards on that. So once we see some of those, and the last one is the bike boulevards, we will bring this back to you next month. I think we've gotten a lot of the feedback from the last meeting, and I've actually last month I was able to ride with Ms. Beatty and Mr. Valesco on Bike to Work Day, and they pointed out a couple of things riding down Cappuccino and Paloma that we'll try to incorporate into the current plan and maybe even phase it into the future. Just it looks like we'll talk about a different approach next time, and I think I'll be taking on that one just to show you what we heard from you folks and what we'll incorporate. And I think that's it, because I gave you the aesthetic update that we will be bringing that to you at the grade step at some future point, that you will get to invited and have a Zoom webinar meeting with that. So that is it for the engineer's report. I'm sorry, before I end, any questions?
Commissioner Lee. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. At the BPAC meeting tonight, one of the suggestions that came out of it for the bike boulevards, Mr. Wong, is to, what was it? Design them so that it's 20 miles per hour. The traffic can only go 20 miles an hour. That would be the goal, because speed is a huge issue for bicyclists. So if we can design into the bike boulevards, those streets that design to keep drivers at 20 miles per hour, that would be the goal, with the controls and the calming measures that are taken. So 20 miles per hour, make that the goal. That'd be great. That's what BPAC said. Mr. Revelos, do you have any suggestions?
Well, let's let Mr. Wong respond. Go ahead, Mr. Wong.
Sure. And again, when we showed it last time, speed cushions, that was a big part of that. And we'll look at placing those at locations where we heard both. We heard the intersections were key. And riding with Ms. Beatty and Mr. Valesco, that was something they approached me about, and we're looking at that, as well as when we had the presentation, Mr. Pulliam said those speed cushions are the ones that mitigate the speed. We're talking even vertical elements, but we'll when I show it to you, I've touched base with Chair Martos a little bit, but we have a approach we're going to also prove. So we'll show you improvements as well as an approach. So, Commissioner Revelos. Sorry,
Commissioner Revelos. Hey, it's my day in the sun. I gotta wield that. I don't have a hammer, but go ahead, Commissioner Revelos. Sorry.
Man is mighty.
Yeah, just Commissioner Lee, she addressed that and asked me for my input. And yes, we did talk about that at BPAC about keeping the average speed, essentially setting a target of 20 miles per hour for the average speed through traffic calming, be it speed humps or whatever it may. But yeah, and I did, by the way, I just wanted to say I did, did talk about the bike ride, Mr. Wong. And so I thought that was really neat. I'm glad to hear that you're directly involved in observing and actually participating with putting yourself out there on the bicycle and experiencing it. That's really fantastic. It's good. I like it. It looks good.
I would have liked to have seen Mr. Wong on a bike. Thank you for doing that, and thanks for your comments. Okay, great. Thank you for the engineering division report, and we'll move to Sergeant Perna, and we'll go ahead and talk about police report.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this going. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the report, but there was 12 documented collisions this past month. One that I highlighted was a vehicle pedestrian accident, Primrose and Bellevue, and there was a vehicle pedestrian accident there at the bottom, but that was actually on private property. It happened in front of like a body shop. But did anyone have any questions about any of the other ones before I pull this one up?
I can't see the report though.
Do you want me to, should I share it or should I, here, I could do it, I guess. Let's see. Let's go over here. That's not right. That didn't work, did it? Let's see.
Yeah, I can see it. Can you all? I think you're
Oh,
sharing
you can
it.
see the browser?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, great. So let me move this. Maybe that's why the problem. There we go. That's better. Okay. So yeah, we have these 12 documented collisions here. So the one I was going to jump into was the vehicle pedestrian at Primrose and Bellevue. No, let me see here. 220. Just so I can pull it out and have it in front of me. So yeah, this collision happened on the 10th at 4:11 p.m. There was I believe this was a juvenile. Let's see here. No, not a juvenile, but it was a male on a skateboard riding south on Primrose, 5 to 10 miles per hour, and the vehicle stopped at the stop sign for eastbound Bellevue at Primrose. Basically, the skateboard kind of continued in the intersection and collided with the skateboard. Let's see. The driver was found at fault. Was there a witness in this one too? I think there might have been. Sketch, so I could better explain it for you. Yeah, so what happened was, I don't know if you're familiar with that intersection, but that's the one at, so Bellevue and Primrose is only a two-way stop sign. So basically the skateboarder was riding in the street, but had the right of way, was going, southbound there on Primrose, and the Bellevue, the vehicle stopped and I don't know for what reason, but didn't remain stopped for the intersection. At the intersection and collided with the skateboarder while it was in the middle of the intersection. So I think I would, if you want to, I might be able to pull it up here. Bellevue. Does that look bad for you guys too?
Yes, it does. Why would they take a picture at night?
I don't know if there's a problem with there's a problem with Blue Earth or something right now. But yeah, so it's this intersection here. So the Bellevue, there's a stop sign, there's no stop sign right here. Going through here. Let's see, any questions or comments about that?
So the juvenile was
Not
on
a
his
juvenile, sorry,
skateboard,
adult. The-
right
the-
south,
The adult was
Right.
on skateboard, yes.
okay? Riding north on Primrose,
Riding south on Primrose.
south on Primrose. So they're on the side of the street closest to the stop sign?
No, there would be, well, the right side of the street going this way. This is southbound, right? So this
So,
would
but
be,
the driver was at their stop sign.
the rider did not have a stop sign.
No, the driver,
The driver, yes, the driver,
driver.
sorry, was going east, so it was coming, I believe, this way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so they maybe just didn't look to their left and see the skateboarder in the road?
Possible. I mean, I don't know exactly what, what was going on in the car, but yeah, that's what we believe happened.
Was there an injury?
Oh, yes, it was a minor injury.
So it's scary.
Yeah,
So,
this is an intersection that I think that you guys had discussed before. I can't remember. It might have been some time ago. Because this is it's almost a roundabout because of this thing here. They could almost make it a roundabout. I mean, I don't know if that's ever been discussed or not, or if that's a good idea or not, but just the configuration is a little bit, this is not a factor in the accident, but it is a little confusing just because there's, I think a lot of people assume that because when there's like a crosswalk here like this, that it automatically means that people are that like there's a stop sign. And the person didn't say this, but this is just an assumption I'm making. So when they see someone approaching, this direction, even though the skateboard was actually going the other direction, but I think that people kind of assume that they're going to, like the car or vehicle or bicycle or whatever is going to stop when they don't. And I think the sign here doesn't have, there's no, it's just a stop sign, doesn't say two-way or, cross traffic does not stop or anything like that. So, yeah, that one.
Sergeant Perna, I kind of agree with you. I'm almost guessing if we looked at historical photos or drawings of Burlingame, that this actually should be a giant roundabout in the center and get rid of the cut through thing, which is so difficult. Yeah, giant would be great.
Well, it's funny because that had been discussed and in the past, and we instituted stop signs at all the feeders, and we realized that in effect we had created a roundabout, and it was much safer. But Mr. Wong, I had just spoken to Mr. Wong last month because we need to improve the signage and the line painting of the line to make it clear which is one way, and it is in facto a roundabout, but we might need to improve the signage, and that would help with the safety here.
Yeah, it gets confusing with all the signs, but it'd be nice to look at some old photos and see if this actually was historically an actual roundabout, so that the center area where all these word stops are would become vegetation and a circle or large triangle circle. Because it gets very confusing because it doesn't follow a normal pattern. So there are very few collisions here, but it's sad to hear that a motor vehicle is hitting a human like that. So we should work on it.
Yes. Okay, so getting back to this, I just noticed these weren't sorted by location, they were sorted by date. So I apologize for that. But so there was one on El Camino and Grove, minor injury, that was a vehicle. I don't think there was anything terribly exciting as far as other ones. No hit and runs, one DUI collision, airport and Lang. Did you guys want to discuss any of the other ones? There's a Truesdale Quesada, and there's a El Camino and Grove. El Camino and Grove was a minor injury accident.
The Truesdale and Casada, I'm curious about. I actually drove through there in the during the aftermath. They had a car up on the flatbed.
Okay, yeah, I'm pulling that up now. Give me just a second. So this one, yeah, Truesdale and Quesada at 3:23 p.m. on a Thursday.
That's right, when school gets out.
Yeah.
Yep. Was it a school person driver?
Give me just a second. Let's see here. So we had a the driver at fault. Was it a school age person? No. It was an adult. Both of them were adults. Well over over 40 years old. Let's see here. Driver one was eastbound on Truesdale Drive, number 2 lane, approaching intersection with Quesada, behind the vehicle, and basically the one car stopped for the stop sign, and the driver behind them rear-ended them.
Do we know why they were rear-ended them? Were they on their phone, or I should take my hand out of my mouth when I talk? Were they on the phone?
Basically, they said that the driver made a lane. The driver said that the other vehicle had made a lane change, like in front of them, and then stopped short. So basically, they said that they didn't have enough time to react. But really, when that's not usually a factor for us. Usually, we find that at fault is that that means that the driver the party at fault was traveling too fast. So like if you can't react to something like that, then you're essentially it's just sort of the who we find at fault is the person for unsafe speed, because if they had been going slower, then they weren't able to react to the changing situation, the changing roadway or whatever. It's like if someone stops abruptly, going down California, say for an animal in the road, and they get rear-ended. The person at fault is the person that rear-ended them, obviously, because they were going too fast, even if they say that, well, that person just stopped suddenly. Well, if you were traveling slower, then you'd have been able to react to that changing situation.
I remember that from driver's ed. You had X number of car lengths so that you could react in time.
Well, and at that intersection, I mean, they're coming up to a stop sign. So how fast could they have been going? They should have been able to stop. That's a busy intersection at that time of day. I mean, there's a lot going on, not just the school. There's a lot going on at that intersection, basically from 2 o'clock on.
Right, and there's multiple stop signs as well. They were going eastbound, but it goes. There's the one at Quesada, and then there's the 2 other stop signs like right in a row after that. So.
I'm taking that a step further, since that is 3:23, I guess, on a Thursday. Clearly, it's a school day when children aren't present. The speed limit should have been 20 miles an hour.
Right, but what I'm saying is that even if you're going 10 miles an hour, but you rear-end someone, then 10 miles an hour is too fast. What I'm saying is if your behavior if you caused a collision, or if you created a collision, whatever, then it doesn't matter if they were, like I said, if they're going 5 miles an hour and they rear-ended this person, then it's still unsafe. And the factor would have still been the same. It would have been unsafe speed.
Yes. Yes, no, I understand that. I'm just thinking that it's just kind of, to me, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel, it reinforces the fact that I think the 20-mile-per-hour zone should be expanded beyond the one block that the school is on. I think it should be as people approach the school from all directions, as well as the block of the school. And then my guess is this person wasn't going 20, even though I understand the rationale, and I agree with you with that. but I think we should consider expanding it to 2/10 of a mile beyond the school so that people start to get the hint, like a kind of a hit over the head that they should be going 20 around the school on school days when children aren't present. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but that one sign saying 20 miles an hour, I don't think is enough. It should be as you approach a school also.
Right.
Sergeant Perna, can I ask you about the accident at, now that we're talking about schools as well, El Camino and Grove? Was that during school hours?
El Camino and Grove, this one was at 2:28 on the 17th. Let me open that up here. On my computer. Yeah, so this collision was a Tuesday, and it was at 2:28 p.m. This driver was northbound. Oh no, I'm sorry. It looks like the driver of the person found at fault turned left in front of the other driver from the #1 lane. So basically they were going southbound on El Camino and they turned on the eastbound Grove in front of the other driver. That's a very typical accident along El Camino, that someone turns in front of someone that has the right of way. It happens. It's one of the more frequent collision factors in our city. I think one of the top ones I think are speed and failure to yield violations, which are like typically along like El Camino or California, where someone turned, they think that because the light's green, they could turn, not forgetting or not realizing that they need to yield to the driver going straight.
Okay. Yeah, that to me, that's pretty obvious, but all right. Thank you. And Sergeant Perna, can I just follow up with a question I'd asked last meeting about when there's a loss of power and all the signals were down? Do you know, do the police have any kind of backup plan or protocol for El Camino and Truesdale and those massive intersections like at Murchison where we saw all the accidents during this winter storm? I think I had mentioned that I had to be traveling and I was expecting to see some police presence and traffic assistance, and instead I saw 3 big car accidents.
Right. No, we don't have a specific plan for that. I mean, it basically has to be handled on a case-by-case basis. So depending on the severity of the storm and the needs of the intersection, we don't have a policy for just sending officers or parking enforcement officers to intersections, because typically there are so many other things going on in the city. But when there's a major intersection that's out, and if there is a need, then I could see that resources being diverted to something like that. If there's, typically, in a big intersection like Broadway in California or something, or I think it was El Camino and Truesdale.
El Camino and Truesdale and El Camino and Murchison, both of which are like 8-lane and 6-lane roads, so.
Yeah, typically what would happen, I mean, the first thing we would do is have signs placed out there. So like if the signals are out, the signs would be placed out there. Either by the police department or public works if they're available. Typically they're very busy as well, but they would come out and post, like always stops, basically post temporary stop signs and things like that. I see Mr. Wong has his hand raised.
Yeah, Mr. Wong, go ahead.
Yeah, through the vice chair. Yeah, so again, El Camino being Caltrans, it's tough because we put it out there. There's a huge liability that comes. So we notify them that their signal's out, or they're made aware, and their maintenance crews will go out and put stop signs out, or their CHP informs them. And for us, it's kind of similar, but it are some of our signals, and I'm sure some of their signals, there's a battery backup. So it allows it to go, and then hopefully the battery can hold it to flash on red, but those batteries only, it depends on the duration of the event, but those batteries will go out. So there is some backup in there, but again, it's a case by case depending on how bad the event is.
Okay.
Again, to like intersections that are flooding probably would take priority as well, because if there's a chance that vehicles could be stuck or stranded, or, you know, that could lead to a very serious situation too. So if there's another intersection that's also out, but maybe it's flooding, like resources would probably be diverted there before, you know, somewhere like El Camino in Truesdale where there's not going to be any flooding. So it's just a case by case basis. Have there been, you know, I'm not sure if you called or if someone else did, but, you know, if you're saying there was multiple accidents there and stuff that night, then, you know, that's probably something maybe we would diverted resources for, send someone over there to see what was going on, why that was happening. People are just not stopping or what's happening. But, or I'd be curious to know too, is if we actually, anyone from the city posted, you know, the stanchions or the A-frames that have the, you know, always stop signs affixed to them or what.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure, but hopefully that doesn't happen very often anyway, you know, weather-wise, but when it does, I felt like there should have been a more proactive care taken. But okay, all right, well, thank you very much for the report, and interesting, and we'll maybe take, I think that heat map comes up in another couple months, right? 2 months or something, because we just have.
Yeah, the link, I think, is still available if you have it. I'm not sure if this information, this past one, is on there. It might be. I have to double check. If not, it's a simple, I just need to update it, but the link would be the same. But yeah, whenever you guys want to do that and bring that up, we could do that as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. And then that brings us to item 7C, which are a teaspoon chair and commissioners' communications. There's only 3 of us this evening. I don't know if any of you guys received any communications that you want to bring up.
Yes, I believe I had one, and Commissioner Rebelos, I think you did too, from Manito Velasco, talking about the collisions on California Drive, that the vast majority are due to dangerous lane changes and sideswipings of each other. And that would be the south end of California Drive from, what is it, Howard South or Burlingame Avenue South? Do you remember exactly what he wrote? Anyway, he's very concerned about all of the collisions, and the causes are, you know how narrow and substandard those lanes are as you drive on California Drive. And so he brought that up, and he brought up that back in August of 2021 that BPAC had requested that the city consider a pilot northbound bike lane from Peninsula Avenue up to Burlingame Avenue. I guess it was Burlingame. We have to look at that. A pilot bike lane just on the northbound side. So that would maintain all of the parking on both sides, but we would road diet California Drive south of Burlingame Avenue into a 1-lane road diet. So that we wouldn't have all those side-swiping collision and lane changing collisions. And then we would have a pilot bike lane. And so he wrote about that. I don't know, did I miss anything in his letter, Commissioner Rebelos? Do you remember anything?
Yeah, so I was just looking at the map. I think it was California Drive between Howard and oh, I lost the map. There it goes.
Peninsula?
Yeah, and Peninsula, where it narrows down once you get onto Otto Road there. And then he had the where is it? Right here.
He gave us the crash statistics.
Yeah, let me close or diminish the gallery.
Well, I think we have that already on our heat map as far as the statistics that we would use.
Well, not just the number of crashes, but like the percentage of what caused the crashes, like break it down by percentage of causes.
And Mr. Wong, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we already looking at having bike lane on that part of California to connect with the San Mateo part of the bike? I mean, isn't that something that's already in the works?
As we saw in April, that's some alternatives that we were in the bike ped master plan that we will be, we're seeking funding at some point. And again, some of those upcoming grants that you guys looked at, you guys had placed that, I believe, as a second priority.
Yeah.
And we're doing our homework on that to see which projects are talking with the TA and trying to see which ones are the strongest candidates. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's not delve into the details tonight. You know, this is more just to bring those communications to the forefront for future discussion. But, you know, it's not like we're unaware of that as an issue. And that is something that we've already started to look at and work on.
If I could, though, just to clarify, it was an email to it was a BPAC email thread, and it includes a chart titled California Drive Auto Roll Crashes 2014 to 2020 with about 8 or 9 different categories.
So it wasn't a communication to Teaspoon commissioners, just through BPAC.
It was a BPAC. It was a BPAC thread.
Okay, well, let's keep that in the BPAC report, you know, when you guys discuss it and everything, so that you guys can come to a consensus. Maybe we could talk about that in the BPAC part at the beginning of next meeting, if you know, that's something that the group can come to a consensus on. But it is something that we're already aware of and is planned for the future. So I don't think that's anything new. So I'm a little confused, but okay.
I had one other.
Oh, another communication?
Yes. Also again from Manito, he was, it's not from the BPAC. This is from Manito. So he's a resident in Burlingame.
Yes, yeah.
He is requesting speed information on speed data for the Lion Hogue improvements. So he was asking to find out like where Lion Hogue had little roundabouts put in, or just the little painted triangles, or the speed humps like on Bloomfield Road. He was requesting the speed data. So could we actually get some information out of this? Were we able to reduce the speeds, the overall speeds on the different roads that had traffic calming items? Is that something the city has information on, the speed reductions by different improvements that we made in Lion Hogue?
Through the vice chair?
Mm-hmm.
I believe Mr. Velasco has a public information's request in, and so what we have, we will provide to him.
Oh, all right. If we could hear it too, that'd be great, because he emailed us and seems like something we should talk about. All right, thank you.
We can definitely put that on the agenda where we would go back to revisit, you know, the effects that were made from the changes that we made in Lion Hogue and how successful they were. And maybe that's something that we could talk about. Because it also would be helpful to know if we're going to do those same sorts of things for the bike boulevards, how effective were they for Lion Hogue? Okay, any other communications? Okay, thank you. All right, item number 8 is committee reports, and many of us are missing, but the Burlingame Avenue Safety and Access, have you guys anything new in the past month, Commissioner Lee, since you're here?
We didn't do anything with Burlingame Avenue this month. Commissioner Revelos and I looked at an area of Airport Boulevard, this very south end of Burlingame on Airport Boulevard, to be that's in the queue to be repaved. We went over and did that and sent out to the city. So, but not our Burlingame Avenue committee.
So that wasn't like the subcommittee. That wasn't the subcommittee then. Okay. All right. We'll move on then to Community Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, but we've heard, I think, from BPAC and your communications this evening already. The BIS safety audit, I guess I'll fill in since Commissioner Eng is out. And we have come up with a couple options that we think might work. They're major changes. We've met with Mr. Wong and gone through some of those. Nothing complete at this point, just sort of proof of concept, like, will this even work? And Mr. Wong and the city staff are going to start looking at that. And then, of course, we'll have to go to the school district before we can come to you guys to make sure that they don't have, like, a major blackball veto issue with any of those items. So when that's ready, we will bring it back to the commission as a whole and get your input. Mercy School traffic calming. I guess I get to take this one too, since Commissioner Martos is in Portugal. We met with the head of school at Mercy and Mr. Wong, Chair Martos and myself, and went over some of the options that we have on the table. They, I think the city had already come up with the staff had come up with a really good plan. Chair Martos was wanted us to consider and investigate one-way traffic direction like we have with some of the other schools for drop off and pickup, but there were some concerns about the other neighborhood streets feeling an impact from that, who are currently not having problems with traffic. So I think you're working on that, Mr. Wong. And what would be the next step for us, and when, do you know?
So the next step is through the vice chair. The next step is to work with the Mercy to arrange some of the on-site meetings with the neighborhood and just share the plan and go over it with them. And then we will probably bring it back once we've gotten feedback from that and finalize things. We can bring it back and show the committee. Show the commission. And then depending on which improvements they may need support or from the commission, that we move forward. But there's a lot of the others we can do, and we'll move on. But the plan is to have a couple meetings during the summer, since we know folks are going to be gone for the summer, and we'll hopefully catch them at one meeting or the other, something like that. So
perfect. Okay, thanks. So that winds up the committee reports. And now we move to future agenda items. And Mr. Wong, can you remind me what we have for next month? Didn't we have some things lined up already, or am I mistaken?
Nope. As I mentioned earlier, try to bring the bike boulevards back to you folks to get the support and get some of those in place. Potentially Mercy, but that again may be too quick because we need to meet them a couple times summer. We've got the grants coming up. We've got a few grants that we're hear back from, and then some that are going out. Again, the big one being the OBAG 3, and a lot of the comments you guys made at the last one, kind of the priorities of those bike ped master plans. We're taking a look at and see how they fit into some of these grants, and potentially the parking garage. It's that we've got the countdown's working, but I haven't gone in there on the busiest days are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I haven't been able to get in and check them out throughout the day on some of those days. But, I think we're half full, but we're utilizing it for some other things right now, but we'd like to see if we can pump it up. But yeah, we'll bring that back now that I can actually get some of the data. Once I get that, I'll be able to share it with you folks so we can kind of pinpoint times and things like that. So.
Okay. It sounds like we have enough on our.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of those things.
Excellent. That brings us to adjournment. I believe we can wrap up this meeting at 8:42. This is a very quick meeting. All right. We'll close the meeting tonight, and we'll see you all next month. Hope you guys have a good evening and
all right.